Green Arrow issue 6 by Benjamin Percy and Stephen Byrne. Is that how you say that
Yep.
name? Yeah, Byrne. Okay.
Yep. Just like John Byrne.
Okay. Stephen Byrne on the art. By the way, again, art, like, this is the third artist on this book, and it's the third
It's
one that's
not
been like,
fair.
it's like, this is great. How is this still
Yeah.
great? And do you know what I think's
Yeah.
funny as well? I feel like his style is exactly in between the other two artists. It felt like a
It's
cross between them.
for an Imiko focused story. It's distinct enough, but it feels familiar enough.
Yeah,
Because, like you
yeah.
just said, it is like a combo of Schmidt and who's the other guy? I'm drawing a blank.
Uh,
But
uh, Jean Ferrier.
yeah, there you go. So I really like this issue. I didn't think I was going to. I thought I'd heard some negative buzz through the Mild Fuzz group,
Hmm.
and it scratched that
My
itch.
my opinion on it's actually changed a little bit since I first read it.
Okay.
Because when I first read it, I wasn't super hot on it. But as I do every week, I always skim through the books again before the
Yeah.
podcast just to refresh my memory and make sure everything's there. And when I read it the second time, it clicked a lot more for me. And I think it was maybe just because I knew what I was going into. I think the first time I read it, I was like, oh, so we're not picking up that cliffhanger with Ollie on the island.
Yeah.
We're saving that for presumably the next arc because it feels like this is going to
Yeah.
continue for at least a few issues.
Yep.
And so we follow Emmy, who,
Mhm.
and we get two stories. We get, I think you're going to start into Ultron, Matt, just to fix that while I'm talking. So we get Emmy in present day, who's with Shadow, and Shadow's like, oh, we must atone and we belong to these people. We've got a debt to pay because my father was in the Yakuza, and
Yeah.
our honours to, like
Do
live
what they
that debt.
say.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
live out that debt, basically. And Emmy's like, nah, sod that. And she goes to like this fighting ring, presumably in Japan. I can't remember if it says it's Japan,
Yeah.
but I assume it was.
Yeah, she's in Japan because they're supposed to
Yeah.
be meeting with their handler that owns, for all intents and purposes, Shadow.
Yeah. And so she goes there, she has a fight, she beats the opponent, and this Yakuza boss that owns them, as it were, like says he's going to see her. And that's the present day plot. That's really all that happens in present day. Most of the plot, I think, most of the book
Well,
is actually.
she enters that to basically she's trying to throw off her mom's plans, whatever those are.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
She's throwing a wrench into them, and specifically goes and looks out for this fight club and just wrecks that dude with her arrows.
She's going to try and like get rid of this debt, like, deal with the Yakuza boss, and that seems to be where the arc's
Yeah.
going. And I think it's great that she's getting some focus because it builds her up.
Yep.
The past story is that, well, there's a fun little bit where she has to fix the door. Her and Ollie are like bickering, but
She slammed the door and he took the door, which
That's right, yeah.
mine,
They took the door,
with
yeah.
my neighbor did that to his daughter. It's like, if you can't respect it, you don't deserve it, and takes the door. And for parenting, I don't think it gets much better than that.
Yeah, he says you can get it back when you wash all the windows because she's refusing to do anything.
Yeah.
Which, good fun. But but the main plot is he tells her to go and like interact and like have some normal kid life, and
Yeah.
instead she uses that time to infiltrate a group that she thinks might be dodgy because they're all acting weird and they all have these watches.
Yeah.
And she goes to investigate. She goes to a store called the Clock King. Now I'm presuming that it's not the Clock King because we've seen him in Deathstroke.
Yeah, but I remember this Clock King, this version, showing up in Lemire's run.
Oh really? Okay, right. Well, maybe
And-
it's a mantle that more people.
Yeah, and that's fine. We're in a place where there's like 3 flashes and whatever, so it's cool because they're so distinct. Whereas the Lemire Clock King was a gangster criminal guy that was so efficient he could set a clock to his stuff. So
Yeah. So basically, she gets one of these watches to try and see what it does, and basically it like. They describe it as slowing down time, but what it's really doing is like it's dealing with your heart rate and your pulse and all that.
she's essentially doing meth by osmosis.
Yeah, and it's just keeping them calm. But the
Yeah.
trick is that the watch winds down, and he wants you to come and pay to get it wound back up again.
Yep.
So you have to keep going back for your fix. Thinking about it, it's actually a really big metaphor for drugs. It really
Well,
is.
In a Green Arrow book. Like,
Yeah. So
it's playing up the legacy there too.
That makes sense. And so she has this issue where this is a problem, and then it reveals something weird. I wasn't sure what this reveal was until I really stopped and thought about it. But you see, Ollie's also wearing one of these watches in this flashback.
Oh snap! I didn't even see that.
It's when they're hugging, like it's on his arm. That has to be his arm that's around her head.
Oh my god! What if they flip it and he's the junkie and she breaks it? And she's like, my mentor's a junkie. Like the
I'm sure
cover.
I'm sure that's what's on that page, and I read it twice because it was the second time I really stopped because I didn't really get it the first time, and I'm like,
Oh, I'm gonna. When we're done here, I'm gonna flip through that.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it reveals that he's also got one of these things, and it makes sense that he could afford it because he's rich at this point. It's a flashback. He's still got all his money, so.
God, so he's a werewolf and now he's a osmosis meth user. Good Lord, Percy, you're doing some cool things. Well, not that meth's cool, everybody. I just meant like the Green Arrow. That's, you know what I mean.
He's doing interesting stories, is what you're
saying.
Thank
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
But obviously, it seems like both the flashback story and the present day story are both going to go forward for this arc, which is why I think we won't get to Ollie on the island until the next arc. I don't know how long this arc is. Maybe it's only 3 issues. Maybe it's 4. Maybe it's a full 6. I don't know. But it was better the second time I read it. Like, I was more into it the second time because I kind of got what was going on a bit more. I think the first time I read it, I was waiting for it to.
Well, you were waiting for Ollie to show up,
kind
of,
Dinah,
and what happened with the burning. But no, I liked it. It was a fun little jaunt. And if this is where we're going to be for, 4 or 5 issues, it's cool by me.
Yeah, it's fine as well. I probably would still say, at least just now, maybe the arc will really impress me as we go. But right now, I'd say this is probably my least favourite of the book, just because I really like that first arc as a whole. But, I mean, there's not much in it. Like, it's still it looked great. Again, it's got... Again, with the great art, we've got great colours. I thought they did a good job of making everything with Emmy in Japan and all that stuff look very different to the Seattle stuff with Ollie. With Ollie, it was the greens and the muted oranges and stuff. But when it was in Japan, it was all dark, neon
and red.
Red, a lot of red. Yeah. So no, so good stuff. That's Green Arrow issue 6.